If you ask me, it is probably easier to explain what does not exist in the Far Realm than to explain what does. Almost every Dungeons and Dragons fan knows the basic idea. The Far Realm is not simply another strange kingdom waiting beyond a portal. It is a reality so alien that mortal minds struggle to understand it without breaking. Older source books describe a place without familiar gravity or time, where reality is divided into countless translucent layers, and where movement, distance, anatomy, and thought no longer behave as they should. 5th edition is far less specific, but possibly even more disturbing. It describes the Far Realm as something beyond the known planes and suggests that it may be an entirely separate universe existing outside the Dungeons and Dragons multiverse. That distinction matters. The 9 Hells, the Abyss, the Feywild, and the Shadowfell are dangerous, but they still belong to a cosmology that mortals and gods can at least attempt to map. The Far Realm may not belong to that structure at all. Its inhabitants are not merely demons with extra tentacles. Some are beings whose biology, perception, and existence operate according to rules that were never meant to fit inside the ordinary universe. And that is why today we are exploring what truly lives in the Far Realms, what happens to creatures exposed to it, and why its existence challenges even the authority of the gods. Are you ready? Let's do this. What is the Far Realm, really? One should never make the mistake of treating the Far Realm as merely another plane of existence. Most Dungeons and Dragons cosmologies organize reality into recognizable categories. There are material worlds. There are inner planes associated with elemental forces. There are outer planes connected to belief, morality, gods, and the souls of the dead. Then there is the Far Realm. According to the 5th edition lore, it exists beyond the known planes and may not technically belong to the multiverse at all. That makes it less like a distant continent and more like a completely incompatible reality pressing against the boundaries of creation. The highly detailed descriptions most fans associate with the Far Realm come mainly from the 3rd edition manual of the planes. In that version, the realm is composed of an endless sequence of translucent layers. These layers are not stable floors arranged like the levels of a building. They overlap, drift, and reveal portions of shapes that may only become meaningful when viewed across several layers at once. One traveler might see a tentacle in one layer, a single staring eye in another, and a mouth several layers below. Only by mentally combining them could that traveler begin to understand that all 3 parts belong to the same colossal organism. Even then, the creature might not actually occupy space in a way a mortal brain can process. The layers were described as varying dramatically in thickness, with multiple layers visible at once. Gravity and conventional time did not function normally. Movement between the layers could be achieved through thought rather than physical walking. The atmosphere was described as thick and syrup-like, allowing creatures to move through it more like swimmers than walkers. But these are older edition descriptions, not universal laws repeated identically in every later book. 5th edition deliberately keeps the environment less defined. That ambiguity is part of the horror. Dungeon masters are not required to present one definitive Far Realm. It can appear as infinite layers of flesh, an ocean of thought, a landscape made from organs, a realm where memories become geography, or a dimension that changes whenever a mortal tries to understand it. The official material repeatedly returns to one central idea. The laws of a Far Realm are not the laws of ordinary creation. When its influence reaches another world, reality begins bending toward its alien rules. Ground can transform into living tissue. Thoughts can become physical, creatures can mutate, rituals may enter someone's mind without explanation, and the longer a mortal remains exposed, the less certain they can be that their body and personality still belong to them. The landscapes are alive, if landscape is even the right word. Older descriptions of a Far Realm contain some of the strangest environments ever published for Dungeons and Dragons. Streams of pale liquid float through open space without needing riverbanks. Gelatinous organisms pass from one translucent layer to another. Forests consist of enormous tentacles covered in alien growths. Spherical objects fall through the realm, burst open and release monstrous parasites. Beneath what appears to be solid terrain may lie something closer to an amoebic ocean than actual ground. But calling these things rivers, forests, rain, and oceans may only be a mortal attempt to force familiar words onto something fundamentally unfamiliar. A forest in the far realm might actually be the sensory organ of a sleeping creature. A mountain could be a single cell viewed from the wrong scale. A river might be the thought process of an intelligence too large to perceive travelers as living beings. This is one of the central themes of far realm lore. The difference between a creature and a location may not exist there. A traveler may believe they are standing on a surface when they are actually moving across the skin of an organism. They may think they have discovered a cave before realizing they have entered a mouth. The horror is not simply that the realm contains monsters. The horror is that the environment itself may be alive, aware, and completely indifferent to the distinction between person, object, and food. Are mind flayers really from the far realm? Mind flayers, also known as Aboleths, are among the creatures most commonly associated with the far realm. They are tentacled psionic tyrants that feed on the brains of intelligent creatures. They reproduce through seromorphosis, a process in which an illithid tadpole is implanted inside a humanoid host. The tadpole consumes and transforms the host, eventually producing a new mind flayer. Their society is dominated by elder brains, enormous collections of preserved illithid brains that communicate telepathically with entire colonies. Everything about mind flayers feels perfectly suited to the far realm. They possess alien intelligence, they use psionic powers, they treat humanoid bodies as biological equipment, they overwrite identity through parasitic transformation. However, their exact origin is deliberately uncertain. Different Dungeons and Dragons sources have suggested different possibilities. Some stories associate illithids directly with the far realm. Others describe them as travelers from a distant future who fled backwards through time. Some settings give them separate origins entirely. That means it is safer to say that mind flayers are strongly connected to far realm themes and influence, rather than declaring that every edition confirms the far realm as their unquestionable birthplace. Official modern commentary often places illithids in a broader category alongside beholders, Aboleths, Neogi, and other aberrations that may either originate in the far realm or have been altered by its power, and perhaps that uncertainty makes them even more frightening. Mind flayers may be creatures that escaped the far realm. They may be creatures trying to return to it, or they may come from somewhere else entirely and simply understand its logic better than humanoids ever could. Beholders and the power of impossible thought. Beholders are another iconic aberration frequently connected to far realm influence. At first, they appear almost simple. They are floating spheres covered in eyes, with one central eye and a mouth filled with teeth. But beholder biology is built around paranoia, dreams, and reality distortion. Each beholder considers itself a perfect form of its species. Even small physical differences can cause two beholders to view each other as disgusting abominations. Their dreams can alter reality, and sometimes produce new beholders or completely different creatures. That power makes them ideal examples of far realm logic. A beholder does not merely imagine something. Under the right conditions, its imagination can become physically real. The boundary between thought and matter is unstable. The creature's own paranoia can generate threats that did not previously exist. Once again, not every source declares that all beholders physically migrated from the far realm, but they embody the kind of biological impossibility and reality-bending consciousness associated with it. A beholder is terrifying, not only because its eye rays can kill, petrify, charm, or disintegrate someone. It is terrifying because its mind is powerful enough to make its nightmares everyone else's problem. Aboleths remember the world before the gods. Aboleths are among the oldest creatures in Dungeons and Dragons. They are enormous aquatic aberrations with psychic abilities, mucus-covered bodies, and the power to enslave other beings. They remember ancient events through inherited racial memory. An Aboleth does not merely know what its parents experienced. It can inherit memories stretching back through generations. That means the species remembers a world before many of the current gods were worshipped, According to their lore, Aboleths ruled early mortal civilizations before the gods rose to power and broke their dominance. The Aboleths never forgot that humiliation. They remember their ancient empires. They remember the arrival of the gods. And they continue to resent divine beings for stealing the worship and obedience they believed once belonged to them. However, Aboleths should not automatically be labeled native inhabitants of a far realm. They are generally presented as ancient beings of a material plane. Modern commentary associates them with far realm energy and cosmic aberration, but their own history places them within the earliest eras of a world. Their terror comes from something slightly different. A mind flare may consume a person's brain. An Aboleth can attack their identity, enslave their thoughts, transform their body, and remember every defeat its species has ever suffered. The gods may be older than mortal civilizations, but the Aboleths remember when those civilizations belonged to them. The Kaorti were once human. The Kaorti are among the clearest example of what the far realm can do to outsiders. They did not begin as native monsters. They were once mortal wizards who traveled beyond ordinary reality in search of unknown magic. Their expedition attracted the attention of a powerful far realm entity, and exposure to that alien presence transformed them. Their bodies became tall, emaciated, partially translucent forms with elongated limbs and faces resembling melted spiders. Their biology changed so completely that the material plane became physically hostile to them. Ordinary reality caused them pain. Its air, natural laws, and physical structure could eventually kill them. To survive, Kaorti created tightly fitted suits made from hardened resin. They also built protective settlements called cysts, sealing themselves inside artificial environments more compatible with their transformed bodies. But the Kaorti did not simply want to hide. They wanted to change the material plane. Their goal was to corrupt ordinary reality until it resembled the far realm and could support them permanently. Even worse, they could transform captured humanoids into additional Kaorti. This process altered both body and mind. Victims could retain skills and memories, but their loyalty and identity were rewritten into something compatible with Kaorti society. The Kaorti demonstrate why the far realm is more than a distant home for monsters. It is contagious. A mortal can enter it as a scholar and return as an organism that considers ordinary reality diseased. The Uvudoms are lords of madness. Among the most disturbing creatures associated with older far realm lore are the Uvudoms. Their upper bodies possess 2 arms in roughly familiar positions. That is where the resemblance to humanoid anatomy ends. Their lower bodies are formed from 6 additional arms arranged in a spider-like pattern. Instead of a head, an Uvudom has a long tail-like appendage ending in a hardened spike. It has no conventional face, no visible eyes, no mouth, yet it can perceive creatures around it and communicate telepathically. Simply standing near an Uvudom can damage the minds of other beings. Its presence creates confusion and madness before it even attacks. When it strikes with the spike where its head should be, it can drain mental stability from its victim while strengthening itself. Older sources describe Uvudoms as powerful inhabitants of a far realm and state that some believe them to be lords there. That wording is important. They are not conclusively identified as the rulers of the entire far realm. The realm may be too vast, unstable, or unknowable to possess one ruling species, but from a mortal perspective, the difference may not matter. An Uvudom is already powerful enough to resemble a divine nightmare. It bends magic, attacks the mind, manipulates time, and carries the madness of its home into every reality it enters. A group of Uvudoms was appropriately called a madness, and that may be the most accurate collective noun in Dungeons & Dragons. The elder evils and things too large to enter reality. The most dangerous entities connected to the far realm are not ordinary monsters at all. They are often described as elder evils, great old ones, or incomprehensible powers that exist outside mortal definitions of life. Some may be intelligent, others may be closer to cosmic processes. A hurricane does not hate the village it destroys. A far realm entity may erase a civilization with the same lack of personal interest. Modern Dungeons & Dragons lore connects the far realm with the patrons of some great old one warlocks, and with powerful entities whose influence leaks into the material plane. These beings may be unable to enter ordinary reality fully, Instead, they act through dreams, star spawn, cults, psychic messages, mutations, and fragments of their power. Occultists may believe they are summoning a god. In reality, they may be creating an opening large enough for one thought from an elder evil to enter the world. That thought alone could transform flesh, alter weather, corrupt magic, or drive an entire city insane. Starspawn often serve as heralds, extensions, or biological weapons for these forces. They are not necessarily independent invaders. They may be the equivalent of cells shed from something infinitely larger. This is why defeating one far realm monster rarely solves the greater problem. The creature may only be a symptom. The actual entity may remain outside reality, unaware that the heroes exist. Why does the Far Realm threaten the gods? There is no universal canon statement declaring that every god is terrified of the Far Realm. Dungeons & Dragons has many settings, pantheons, and cosmologies, and the power of the gods varies between them. But the Far Realm represents something that should concern divine beings. Gods usually possess power within a system. They have portfolios, they rule divine realms, they receive worship, they influence souls, magic, nature, death, war, knowledge, and destiny. Even the abyss and the 9 hells belong to a cosmology the gods understand. The Far Realm may exist outside that system. Its entities might not have souls in the ordinary sense. They might not obey divine law. They may not be governed by alignment, mortality, fate, or the normal cycle of death and resurrection. That means a god could confront something that does not recognize divine authority because the concept of divinity has no meaning where it comes from. The Far Realm also attacks the foundations on which gods depend. It corrupts minds, bodies, magic, and belief. It can transform worshippers into creatures incapable of relating to their former gods. It can bend reality until temples, holy laws, and mortal civilizations become meaningless. A demon wants to corrupt a soul. A devil wants to own it. A Far Realm entity may change the definition of a soul until neither god nor fiend can recognize what remains. That is why the title of this video works. The Far Realm is not necessarily stronger than every god. It is frightening because it may be outside the rules that make gods powerful. The gods are not always at the top. Mortals usually imagine reality as a hierarchy. Ordinary people stand below heroes, heroes stand below legendary monsters stand below demigods, and gods stand at the top. The Far Realm challenges that comforting structure. Its existence suggests that the gods may only rule one enclosed portion of a much larger and stranger reality. A god may be nearly omnipotent inside its divine realm, but beyond the multiverse may exist entities that never heard of that god, never obeyed its laws, and cannot be judged according to its concepts of good, evil, life, or death. That does not make every Far Realm creature stronger than a deity. A mind flayer is not automatically capable of defeating a god. An Aboleth is ancient but not omnipotent. A Kaorti can be killed. Even an Uvudam has game statistics and weaknesses. The true threat is the source behind them. Every aberration, mutation, and psychic infection may represent only the smallest visible part of something beyond creation. The gods can fight monsters. What happens when the enemy is an incompatible universe? The Far Realm is where Dungeons & Dragons stops feeling like a simple battle between heroes and monsters. It becomes cosmic horror. It becomes a story about minds confronting truths they were never built to understand. Mind flayers show us identity being consumed and replaced. Beholders turn thought and paranoia into physical reality. Aboleths remember a time before the gods ruled mortal belief. Kaorti demonstrate that ordinary people can be transformed into enemies of reality itself. Uvudams carry madness with them simply by existing, and the elder evils remind us that the creatures entering the multiverse may only be fragments of far greater entities. The most frightening part is not that the Far Realm is evil. Evil is understandable. Demons want destruction. Devils want control. Necromancers want power over death. The Far Realm may want nothing that a mortal can translate. Its inhabitants may destroy worlds without hatred. They may transform people without cruelty. They may erase the laws of reality simply because their existence forces the universe to behave differently. And that is why even the gods would have reason to fear it. Not because every far realm creature is stronger than every deity, but because the far realm proves that divine power may have boundaries. Well, I hate to admit it, but that is all I have for today, folks. Which far realm creature unsettles you the most? Would you rather face a Mind Flayer colony, an Aboleth empire, a Kaorti cyst, or a single Uvudam? And which Dungeons and Dragons horror should receive a full video next? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. As for me, I promise to return with another favorite topic soon. Thanks for watching, and have a nice one.